What's up, guys? This is Aaron Westfall, aka Rainier, bringing you a game from the StarCraft 2 ladder, brought to you by our good friend Nordra, the Orange Zerg. He'll be playing today against the Yellow Protoss, Cos, being very good-mannered about everything. Good luck, have fun. Double good luck, have fun. This video was uploaded to a subreddit called Castit, which I want to let you guys know about if you haven't heard of it. It's affiliated with the StarCraft 2 subreddit. Basically, the way it works is we're going to have players uploading replay files, and then casters like myself making videos out of them, and then I'll put this on YouTube. And that way, Nordra, if he wants to show this video to somebody and say, hey, here's me being a total sick nerd baller, owning this fool up on the ladder. Actually, I hope he wins now, because I didn't watch this yet. But anyway, hopefully he wins, and then he can say to his friend, you know, maybe his friend doesn't have StarCraft 2. I can just show him a link on YouTube and say, hey, here's a video of me owning it up. So anyway, I think it's a pretty good idea, and I'm going to be casting a few games from that subreddit. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And today's match that we're looking at right now is on Shattered Temple, which is an interesting map. It's got a really long history. Its parent map was called the Lost Temple, and that map actually came out in 1998 with StarCraft Brood War. So it's got a lot of history behind it. It's a very, very well played map. There are some significant changes from the Brood War version, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. It looks like we do have a pretty safe opening here from Nordra. He's going pool first. Good scouting info. And looks like, yeah, Kaz is just patrolling down here to try and stop that hatchery as soon as it goes down. Probably put a pylon down and then cancel it. Pretty standard stuff. Anyway, the Shattered Temple has a little bit of an imbalance in this matchup in particular. PVZ, the win rate is about 61% for Zerg, and this is for pro players, mind you, so this is not, you know, across the entire, you know, ladder game standings. But for pros, the win rate is about 61% for Zerg over Protoss, with an error of margin of about 3%. So that's significantly, you know, above where we'd like to see a map, right about 50%. But so that's just something to keep in mind. This map is slightly Zerg favored. I think a lot of tournaments actually don't even use any of the temple maps anymore, just because the win rate for Terran over Zerg is really high as well on this map. It's something like 65%. For example, the GSL does not use this map or any of its versions anymore. But it's still a pretty good map. It's just kind of a classic structure. You know, it's split evenly down the middle, mirrored, with an expansion here, destructible rocks, and a gold expansion. The idea of this map is kind of, you're going to want to really, for Zerg, engage in this middle open area here. And it's really important for a Zerg army to get that good surface area. This map really allows Zerg to get really good surface area. I think that's one of the reasons why the win rate is a little bit skewed for this matchup. There aren't really any. There are some choke points, like you can see here. This is kind of a choke point. It's much wider than it used to be on the Lost Temple version, and then obviously this ramp is very narrow. But this is a good little push coming out here. Oh wow! A lot of Zerglings coming out here for Nordra. He's going to be able to clean that up pretty well. Speed is going to finish in about 20 seconds. That might be time enough for Koss to get a couple Zergling kills, but he doesn't really seem too worried about microing those really hard right now. And Nordra will be free to drone up here. We are going to see, yeah, there's the Nexus coming out from Koss, so he's expanding now. And a couple more gateways just to get this wall going. He doesn't want to die to any mass speedling or roachling all-ins. But we'll have to see what Nordra wants to do. Also want to give a big up to apochtv.com. he wrote a how-to guide that actually enabled me to get my casting software rolling, and so big up to him. That's apochtv.com. He does a little blog on there. Also, of course, teamliquid.com and r/StarCraft on Reddit. Another thing that you might not know is that our orange Zerg here, Nordra, actually also just had a baby. He also recently joined E-Sahara. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that team, but they're a pretty good team. He's a Norwegian player. I think he speaks Norwegian and English. So maybe we'll try and do a post-game interview with him. I don't speak Norwegian, but we'll try and get some extra info, maybe, and I'll cast some more of his games. So, pretty standard right now. Oh, nice run by here. Actually, he's going to be able to hold this off. The key here is not to lose any sentries, but we lose one sentry, one in the red, 2 sentries go down. Man, not very good force fields there. He actually probably should have pulled his units back up the ramp here and gotten more in that choke point, but let's see how many units lost we had there. Okay, so a few units lost there, but Nordra did lose all of his Zerglings, so that's not really ideal. I think the trade, actually no, it looks like the trade did go in Nordra's favor because he did lose so many of those gas-heavy units, those sentries that we don't like to lose. But I would like to see him finish this wall off, maybe try and prevent that thing from happening again. He's letting Nordra have control of that watchtower. He could send a Soccer and a Zealot out there maybe to. Well, actually, no, he can't, because here are the roaches, and they are going to fight for that spot. Zerg likes to have control of this watchtower. That way he's got a good feel, along with these overlords here, to scout this. I would like to see maybe another overlord on top of this high ground here, just to get a good feel for the airspace around the Protoss player, and have a good ring of it. Really, you want to have a ring of vision around the entire Protoss base, so that anytime he makes a move, you can see it. And since Koss is not building any air units, no Phoenixes or anything right now, you would have contested air control in that situation. So the cannon does finish, and these roaches are going to be pushed back. I don't like that. Yeah, I think that he doesn't really want to overcommit here, but maybe he thinks he can take this army out. There are a few Zealots in there, which are going to do a lot of damage to those Lings. The roaches do really well against the Zealots. Oh, nice. He's able to push in. A little bit slow reaction time on that force field there. He's not able to block that off. There's another one. That's the one he needed. Oh, the Artosis pylon. He loses the power of that cannon. That's not good. He really needed that cannon there. Oh, man. Oh, man. Koss is in trouble. Oh. Okay. Looks like he's going to stabilize here. I think he does have enough energy on these sentries to hold the rest of that off. But, how is the supply looking? It looks like Nordra is at 78 supply, Koss at 65. Hydra's coming out now. That's probably a good choice for Nordra. Since the Protoss is going mainly ground, Hydras are going to be a really, really powerful unit to kind of hang behind the roaches and the Zerglings and just deal a sick amount of damage to that ground army. The thing is with Hydras, you really have to make sure that you position them well in the army and in the battle. You don't want to put them anywhere near the front lines because they are a pretty fragile unit. Hallucinated Phoenix comes in and does scout the Hydras. So if I was Koss right now, I would probably, robotics facility. That's what I was going to say. Probably going to want to go up to Colossus Tech. That is a really effective unit to deal with the Hydras. And it looks like, I think Nordra can probably take like 2 bases right now if he really wanted to, but he might not feel entirely comfortable doing that because of the production. The Protoss is on 2 bases. There we go. Nordra's taking his 3rd down. That's good. Definitely want to stay 1 base up on you against your Protoss opponent. And I think this Overlord, is the Overlord able to see? No. Well, he should use that Overlord to check pretty soon, because it looks like Koss wants to move up and take that 3rd base there as well, which he should do. And I also would like to see, maybe a little bit better creep spread from Nordra, but these are all things that are hard to do. That's why the pros are pros and we are in diamond. But let's see. Infestors coming out now. I like that choice. The Infestors are gonna just give him a little bit more control of the battles with fungals. Immortals, I don't know if I like that choice, but there are a lot of roaches here, so it's not gonna hurt. Just to have a few mortals mixed in to deal damage to those roaches. Ooh, this might be a good timing here. He doesn't want to really overcommit here. I don't want to... He could get... Yeah, alright, good. Yeah. Okay. Cas's positioning behind that wall and was doing him a lot more harm than good. He needs to get out into this area right here and lay some force fields to try and mitigate that damage there from the roaches, but... Let's see, supplies now 133 to 115, so not too bad. I think that Cas is definitely in this. He, if he hangs back and gets some Colossus out, and then pushes out with a really nice composition, I think he's going to have a really good shot. I do like the pressure that Nordra keeps putting on here. It's just making Cas not feel safe. He's making him feel like he has to be defensive. And that, when a player is in that mindset, it really changes the way they play. If they think that they're behind, it causes them to be more conservative, and it's going to make them make decisions that usually are in your favor. If you're being the aggressor and you're putting pressure on them, it kind of changes just the flow of the game. And I definitely like this style from Nordra here. I like that he's pushing up here. He knows that's a pretty big army that Cas has, but he's got a pretty... Ooh, wow. Cas is just letting him walk all the way in here. If he gets a good position at the top of this ramp and can engage Nordra on this choke point, it's going to be really sick for Nordra. Alright. Good range. The Hydra range is doing really nice against these stalkers. The Colossus is out now, though, and that's a pretty strong unit. You might want to... Okay, he's deciding to back up. That's a pretty hefty army there. This might be a good trade, though, if he gets that Colossus. Oh, nice! He does get the Colossus. That's a good trade there for Nordra. But he is overwhelmed now. The army of the Protoss player is too big. He's going to lose that battle. Supply is actually not that bad, though. It's still pretty even. 107 for our Zerg player, 104 for the Protoss. But Nordra's army is pretty small now. However, so is Cas's. Still pretty even here. Let's do that one. How about that? Yeah. Alright. Okay, so he's sticking pretty roach heavy. There aren't a ton of immortals with that army, so I think that's probably a good choice. And they're just a kind of a tougher, beefier unit than the Hydra. They do work really well with the Infestors. If you get those fungals off, they can really do good damage to those stalkers. Let's see how his saturation is. Pretty good. He should be thinking about taking a fourth. I mean, he should just take this gold base here. He's going to need to be defending this entire arc right here. And I would also like to see creep pushed out into this middle area, because this is really the area that Nordra wants to control and engage in. If he has a really good creep spread and arc on his army, that concave formation that we talk about sometimes, that's really going to work to his advantage in this battle, because there is going to be a battle once Protoss maxes out. So you really need to think about kind of the long-term, think about the next engagement as you're sitting here macroing up for the next battle. Ultras, that's a really nice choice. With armor upgrades, and we're going to have cracklings on the way. Adrenal glands for the Zerglings are so sick. I love that upgrade. I actually really just like to have Zerglings with adrenal glands, just because they're such a fun unit to run around. They're so quick. They just attack so fast and deal so much damage. It's a really fun unit to play with. Now, the Zerg is approaching his max, so he might feel tempted to push out and engage. But I think that probably the better move would be for him to really build up a big bank and then engage once he has, like 3k minerals and gas in the bank, and really get a huge stack of larvae. Because then when he trades this, he's going to have to trade essentially this entire army for the Protoss army. And he might not even win the battle. But if he does it correctly, if he has a huge bank and he has good upgrades, what he can do is just rebuild a big army really quickly. And he can do that a lot faster than the Protoss can. So if he engages properly and does an efficient trade... Ooh, I really don't want to get in this choke point here. Okay. Kos is throwing down some force fields. He doesn't want to get those ultras into melee range. That's going to be... Ooh, alright. Good. Pushing in here. There should be... Oh, nice! Neural Parasite. That is a great spell from the Zerg Infestor there. I like that a lot. This is a really sick trade. He's doing really well. This is exactly what he needs. He's got a big bank, 2,000 minerals, 1,000 gas, and the Protoss army is essentially decimated. I think Nordra has full control of this game right now. If he just pumps out okay, let's look at the production tab. 21 roaches, 12 lings, 2 ultras. That is perfect. He's going to be able to come out with that army and really just smash this small force that Kos has left. And from there, I think that he can pretty much walk right in and start taking out tech structures. Now, he could also, do something like take another base right now. That would not be a bad move. Maybe get a 5th base going down there, because Kos really can't move out with this army right now. He needs to stay and protect this gold base that he's trying to get going. And positionally, Nordra essentially has control of this entire half of the map. He's not really choosing to exert that control right now, but he does have it. How are the upgrades looking here? We've got 2-2 for the ground, and the upgrades for the ultras. I would like to see some melee attack upgrades, since he is choosing to go ultras. But the Kaiser Blade. Some folks call it a Sling Blade, but I call it a Kaiser Blade. Corruptor's coming out now. That's a good choice. That'll be able to really knock those Colossus down pretty quickly. Kos, I'm really not sure what he can do here. He's in a really tough spot. He's got Zealot Charge coming, but against so many roaches, that's just not going to be the unit that you want. I think really he just has to kind of go Stalkers. I would like to see him upgrade Blink. That might be a good choice, just to give him some extra mobility and to try and get behind and get these Corruptors before. Really what he needs to do is use the Stalkers to get these Corruptors down before they can take out his Colossus. And that's a really hard thing to do, just because Nordra's maxed out right now. He's got a better army, a bigger army. Upgrades aren't bad. 2-1 for the ground units on Protoss. And there we go. There's that base from Nordra that he needs to take. I think he's sitting pretty right now. I think he's pretty much got this game. As long as his next engagement is an efficient trade, essentially. He just has to make sure he engages in a location that is in his favor and not somewhere that Kos wants to fight. So he's going to come up here and just kind of throw his weight around, tell him that he's ready to fight. I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. It looks like he's got the Stalkers buffering for the Colossus. That's good. Corruptors are trying pretty hard to get those Colossus down, and I think they are going to get them, yeah. There just isn't quite enough Stalker presence there. But now that they are down, the Corruptors are kind of just useless hanging around. Supply, 36 roaches on the way, immediately remaxing. That is really nice. And yeah, the gold base is just going to go down for Kos. I think that he's still got plenty of money here, but DTs, that's a really nice choice. I like that. Mid-game, late-game DTs. A lot of times the Zerg is just not going to have Overseers at all. most of the time they're not going to be with the army, even if they do have them. So, you know, Templars, the Dark Templar especially is I like that choice from Koss. But I think it's just going to be too little, too late. He doesn't have enough mining. If we look at the income tab, yeah, it's really, really skewed in Nordra's favor. So he's going to try and expand. It's not going to do him that much good. He just doesn't have the units right now. I mean, he's if you look at our unit count, we've got 64 drones for Nordra, 43 probes for Koss. He lost a bunch of probes there at a gold base in the last fight. I think this is probably going to be our last fight here. Nordra's going to come in. He's going to blow that mothership up. There might be some nice storms. Does he not have enough energy for storms, or does he even have the upgrade? He does not have the upgrade yet for storms, so that kind of sucks. Yeah, so this is pretty much GG right here. Oh, there it is. There's some storms. But, you know, when you've got 3 armor on your roaches, it's just not going to be enough. So this Nexus is going to go down, these Stalkers are going to go down, then these Cannons are going to go down. And that's pretty much going to be it. So, good game there from Nordra. I like the aggressive style. I think in this scenario, it really makes your opponent just change their decision making in a way that they don't necessarily feel comfortable with or want to do. Makes them play more conservative, more defensive, and especially for Zerg, that's so important because when Zerg isn't harassed or there's no pressure put on the Zerg player, it just lets him macro up, and as you can see, Nordra did a really good job of getting all those bases he needed to really have a sick economy, and yeah, so aggressive, GG. Alright. Thanks for watching, guys.